Recruiters? Family? If your mom works at Google. Take care. So on to my biggest tricks. I have two big tricks for standing out at the job fair and tech talks. My first big trick for standing out is to prepare kind of deep and thought-provoking questions. They probably answered, oh, what is this company's culture? Or what is your day-to-day life like on the job? Probably at least 10 or 20 times. If you ask something that they haven't heard before, then they'll take a step back and actually have to think it through, and that makes you memorable. I did this by asking like a very out there question that no one really asked. What is your biggest regret? And I had to be very careful with this one, and I couldn't ask it to anyone, so you really have to gauge the recruiter's interest level and how comfortable they are with you. But you don't have to ask what's your biggest regret. You can ask something like, what's the biggest lesson you learned, or what advice would you give your freshman self, or what would you do differently if you were a freshman, or if you could change one thing about your company, what would you change, or when choosing an internship or a full-time job, what are the most important aspects to consider? Obviously, there are so many factors like pay, location, work, right? And the answer to that is you should always focus on maximizing your opportunity to learn and grow as a developer. And I keep saying that, but that's what you should focus on. The money, the location, that will come later, but the most important thing is to just learn and grow, because we're still young, and learning and growing more now will change our trajectory now, so that 5 or 10 years later we land somewhere completely different. And that's like a tangent, but ask questions that are bothering you, or ask questions that you're wondering. And these engineers or recruiters are people that have been in the industry for a few years at least. So they probably are in a different position and are able to give you this insight that your friends and peers wouldn't be able to offer you. My second biggest trick is to bring your side project with you to these job fairs or tech talks. I don't see a lot of people demoing at tech talks, and all they do is talk. For me, since I'm not that good at describing things, I find that it's easier for me to just bring my side project and just show them, because if your side project is good enough, then the work will speak for itself. Back when I had an HP computer, I would lug it around and just show them my C++ project on my HP computer, and that made all the difference. They were able to see that it was very complex, yet it looked very nice, and they could see that all the work that had to go into it in order for it to become what it was on that day. Do you have any big tricks of your own, Victor?
I would just say ask questions are by far still the biggest, because there's so many people that don't do that. Also, trying to get their email and sending a follow-up email after job fairs, and sometimes tech talks too, is a way for them to remember you. You can just talk about thank you for coming, thank you for giving me the chance to talk to them. Remind them about maybe a thing you talked about, maybe have a question for them, and that helps to stick out versus the hundreds of people that they slog through every hour for like 6 to 8 hours in a given day. And it's exhausting to be a recruiter, so having something that they can see at the end of the night gives them something tangible to relate back to and memorize. So that way you can stay fresh in their memory, and it's easy for them to be like, oh, I remember him. He was the one who talked to me early on. But yeah, I think since he's one of the few people I remember, I think I can actually get him an internship since his stuff was good.
The final way to get the interview is actually through your friends, through your connections, through networking. Friends other tutors, people you worked with, professors, recruiters, family. If your mom works at Google.
Those are all really good ways to get to know people. Like the biggest strength of networking, as mentioned already, when it comes to job fairs, is that you're leaving an in-person impression instead of having to go through just an online filtration system where your school, your GPA, your year are all held against you. And so there's several ways to network. In particular, job fairs are one where you can get the recruiter emails. Also, just people you know that work at companies can definitely give you referrals, which are the strongest form of any application.
Right.
There's also just contacting recruiters on LinkedIn is another way, although there's also a chance of just not getting responses. Also, good techniques to meet people in person are hackathons, where you can meet recruiters just like at career fairs and hand them your resume and also explain your interest and wanting to work for that company. And there are people that have gotten interviews set up through hackathons. And then just getting recruiter emails from the job fairs from your friends that you can just send a cold email, which is very much like a pitch but in electronic form. And so instead on the email you'd be saying hi, I'm Victor, I'm a sophomore at UCSD, I have this experience, I'm looking to work at your company for this upcoming summer if possible, here's my resume, let me know if we can work things out. It's very that kind of formal and informal, and it's very straightforward, simple, nothing more than a few paragraphs. So the recruiter will actually read your resume, and I personally got a lot of interviews off just emailing recruiters, because the recruiter's going to look at your email and your resume most of the time, versus online where you might just get filtered by the system and never even have a recruiter look at your info.
But would you say that there's it's better if so when it comes to getting referred, do you think it's better when your friend also puts in a good word? This isn't just some random friend, but a friend that you actually worked with before.
It can be both, yeah. That's always stronger than anything, but if you don't have that option, then it's better just to have a friend who's already working there and is willing to refer you.
Okay. So that's why, yes, definitely send out cold emails, but also keep good relations with everyone you meet, because you don't know where your next job offer or next interview opportunity is going to come from. Yeah, so just keep in mind that you're in this position now and you're asking your friends for referrals, right? Well, when you're in that position and someone's asking you for a referral, just remember that you were them once and make sure to give back. So I've included a link in the description below for an article that Victor wrote about how to get the interview. It's pretty comprehensive. It has resume tips and also where to get the interview, and also how to keep track of all these companies that you're interviewing with and applying to, because there can be a lot of companies that you're applying to and you're oh wait, did I apply to that one? Am I interviewing with that? Did I already get rejected? Did they get back to me? Right. But yeah, I think we've covered all the bases. We talked about building the resume, applying online, working on your pitch, job fairs, tech talks. My biggest tricks to standing out at those job fairs and tech talks, and also a bit on networking. So I want to thank Victor for taking the time to be with us today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you in part 5. Part 5 is going to be about how to pass the interview, and that is a whole nother beast. Once you have the interview, now you have to start working on interview specific stuff. So yeah, see you in part 5.
Yep. Best of luck in your interview hunt.